Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you for your time today. We know that you all have busy schedules and there are so many webinars out there these days that it can be a bit overwhelming. So we do appreciate having your company even more so. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stacey Montero, and I am the manager of Cosentino's Manhattan City Center. I've had the pleasure of working for Cosentino for about 2 years now, and this is actually a bittersweet moment for me because this will be my last event in this role before I start a new position within the company. Today, I am joined by some of my favorites in the design industry to discuss some very important and timely topics. Whether we like it or not, there is a new normal for everything that we do today. The architecture and design industry is no exception, which is why we are bringing this event live to you today, digitally, instead of hosting you all in our beautiful Manhattan City Center at the A&D building like we normally would. We are open by appointment, of course, if you'd like to stop by, and we're taking all safety precautions, of course. With that said, I'd like to introduce our special guests, the experts, as I like to call them. Each of them were selected to speak on this panel because of their active roles within the design community and also for their incredible ability to adapt and anticipate. Oh, are you guys able to hear me? I think I had lost. Good. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. So he's 6 feet apart, social distancing on the other side of our showroom. And he is the Professional Development Director of ASID New York Metro and also the Territory Sales Manager at Waterstone Company. Brian is an Arizona native who went from working in the fashion visual merchandising industry, which is no surprise. Look at how stylish he is with his glasses and that scarf, to becoming a waterware specialist. Before relocating to New York, Brian served as a member of the ASID Arizona chapter board of directors, quite impressive, and it is a role that he pursued again in New York. He has since done so much for the organization, coordinating weekly CEUs, roundtables, and I actually had the privilege of participating in his coffee talk webinar, as we say in New York, just last Friday. Brian celebrates the interior design industry for its vibrant and dynamic nature, very much like his own personality, and he continues to bring our community together with exciting and relevant activities. Thank you for joining us, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up is Eric M Haydel. He is a Boston-based interior designer and luxury trade showroom owner who forges a path with a modern-day design business model. His team services clients for bespoke interiors nationally while he curates a collection of the minute textiles and furnishings. For Eric Haydel, president. He also enjoys a platform to teach and engage fellow designers while traveling to speak for Domotex USA in Atlanta, to designing for Holiday House in New York, and also as a style spotter for IMC High Point Market. Eric's full spectrum approach to the industry keeps him ahead of the trends while rooted in the classics. He is constantly in motion, designing personalized interiors and products for clients and colleagues, with his momentum driving innovation for new business models for success in this new normal from coast to coast. Nice to have you, Mr. Busy, like super busy man these days, right? And last but not least, I have supermom Natalie Crane, who is an acclaimed interior designer from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Completely stunned. She has been tasked with my favorites is her work for Holiday House, which has a special place in my heart, having worked on the PR team for that event 3 years in a row. In 2017, Natalie was featured as a rising star in New York City Cottages and Gardens, and has been published in numerous interior design publications, TV segments, podcasts, and industry panels. With expertise in ground-up construction projects in New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Connecticut, Natalie transforms the entire design of the home, up to the last detail, including furnishing, tableware, and linens. Thank you for being here with us today, Natalie.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get right to it. Again, I'd like to thank you all for being part of this discussion. And I'd like to start by asking each of you what kind of projects you specialize in and how you find inspiration. So first up, let's go with Eric.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to join you all from Boston. I think the projects we specialize in here as a firm are based around the idea that our clients are looking for a story that captivates their vision. You can see all the mess behind me. I'm here in the office, constantly pulling and putting together and piecing together their vision and their dreams that come together. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily based around a room, but really based around a concept or an idea that our clients are looking for that story. And so that inspires me, hearing where they come from, where they've grown up, what things they've interacted with, and even how they want to end their day every day.
Perfect. What about you, Natalie?
I have projects everywhere also. Right now I'm in Florida. I came during the virus, and luckily I have a few projects here, so I'm managing to work from home, but I get to go to see some of the project sites. I also have many projects in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in New Jersey, in Connecticut. So I try to stay on the East Coast, but I'm welcome to go anywhere. I usually do high-end residential interior design, and I like to specialize in a whole house, like from ground-up construction. I can also do CAD renovations, and I like to do everything from A to C so that my client can move into a house that's like fully finished and decorated from every detail.
That sounds like a dream. Just move in.
Yes.
Perfect. And how about you, Brian?
I specialize in waterware fixtures and lighting and appliances. So I take inspiration from what's happening in fashion and within the design community. And also I take inspiration from my customers, listening to how they live their lives. And I try to implement that within the design.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is a little bit of an extension on our last point. But how are you sourcing or specifying materials and products for your projects when you're now unable to simply just walk into a showroom? I'd like to start with Natalie for this one.
Yeah, so right now, the mail is our best friend. Everything keeps going back and forth. We're sending samples from coast to coast, from my carpenter to the upholsterer, stone samples. Everything is really like, going by mail at this time. Also, we're doing Zoom and FaceTime. But like I try to be able to show my client the material, even though they have full trust. And sometimes they tell me like, I don't need to see it. I don't need to trust you. Yeah. Like I really like them to have a feel, because once you see something in person, usually you get like a much better impression, obviously.
Very true. And how about you, Eric?
Well, I consider myself to be very fortunate, having worked here in 2 showrooms here in the Boston Design Center and owning both of those showrooms. I'm interacting with over 62 lines of product each day. And so I'm able to still touch and see, but I'm also able to work with my colleagues on a curbside basis. There was a photo that came out on Instagram a few weeks ago where I'm in a mask bringing down a chair so a designer could sit in it in the parking lot.
Oh, no.
So this great combination of I'm fortunate and I really need to share that wealth with everyone else.
Wow, that's very interesting. Curbside pickup for the interior design industry. I didn't even know that was a thing. You see, you learn something new every day.
It wasn't until a few months ago, but I mean, if you can go into BMW and drive their car, I can truly bring in a parking lot.
That's very true. And Brian, you are also on the cusp of like designer / manufacturer. What have you been seeing? Like, what are your clients asking you to do in regards to sampling products?
So I have been fortunate enough to drop off some of my faucets to different designers and architects within the city. And I've had a lot of architects, designers, and other showrooms reach out to me at Waterstone. And I've had samples mailed out at no charge. I've taken phone calls and done Zoom meetings, and I have faucets at home. So been able to walk through some of these designs that we do at our company to help meet the needs of the designer and the homeowner. And picking up the phone, talking to the homeowner for the designer to help to explain it maybe a little bit better than sometimes the designer. They have so many products that, I specialize in certain things that I can talk to them about this one thing.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. And we've been doing a little bit of all of the above as well here at Cosentino. We're sending some samples, we're doing virtual visits. It's really a nice mix. And I think that all of us have adapted quite well, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And with the unpredictability of this special time, being able to work from home, as we all know, is imperative. How do you maximize space, efficiency, and ambiance of a home office for yourself and your clients instead of just schlepping it onto your sofa and just trying your best?
I'm lucky enough that I have enough storage space within my New York City apartment that I have samples in suitcases and in boxes in my hall closet. I've turned my media unit into a sample storage. So I have knob samples that I can send out and brochures hidden underneath my bed. So I've maximized that storage there. So it's good. I've also chosen, I got rid of my old dining room table and chose a non-porous worktop so that when I'm writing and I have samples on there that's not scratching the top, like a Ductum product, which, is long living, and it's also trade specialist, so it wasn't our fair trade, so that we're not harming the environment and low VOCs and that. So I bought a new dining room table because of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you?
Go
ahead.
So I've had a few clients and colleagues reach out and sort of ask the same question.
Right.
And I've tried to impress upon them that the idea of, if you can, especially in our New England market, make an established space that's separate. So that way you can still mentally go and work and connect and then disconnect when you need to. And if you need to make it a junk room, you can, and not be as organized as Brian, you can just close the door. You can walk out of it. I think that separation is so important.
Yes.
I actually live in a work-live space in the seaport part of Boston, but I mentally have to disconnect. So I was being somewhat of a rebel and sneaking into the Boston Design Center, and I know I'm saying that publicly, but they my little pass. But I would sneak in and work because I needed that separation. And so for people where separation is not possible, I think it's important to achieve that by maybe in your office space, bringing in plants that you may not have in the other parts of your house, making sure you're working by a window that you may not have access to in the other parts of your house. So I think you do have to sort of create a new space that allows you to do that work separately.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
I completely agree. Like you don't want to be able to see all your work things day and night, because sometimes you don't separate, and then maybe you come back from dinner. Well, actually you're having dinner in the house, but maybe like you finish dinner and then you're like, oh, I have all this paperwork, and instead of sitting and relaxing, you end up doing extra work because you can't find a separation. I'm lucky in Brooklyn where I live. I also have my office in my house. So during the initial, from March to May, I was in Brooklyn in my office working, and my kids were home. So I had to share the space because usually it's my quiet space, and they know there's no vacuum, there's no noise. So they ended up taking over my space, and I had to compromise and find a time for them to do schoolwork and then for me to work. So especially like having outdoor spaces, it's great when you want to get to a phone call, when you want to try to find privacy. It's like there is no limit, but at the same time, you want to be able to have an organized area where you're not jumping any time of the day. And then storage for sure. Like if you don't have a closet where you can like store all your papers or samples, in my case, like try to maybe buy a little cabinet, like something that's not taking up so much space, but you can keep yourself organized.
Right. I mean, Pop-In and Inscape, that's a good point. They do offer a lot of these solutions for home offices, and they keep you organized and it just keeps everything out of the way. I completely agree with you. I myself have two little ones. So the struggle is real when you're trying to hop on a conference call or a Zoom and they're climbing up on you. I get that completely.
It's good to have a structure and for everyone in the house to know the structure, whose space is whose, so that there is the balance.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so while we're on this topic, sustainability is more important than ever, especially with the mass consumption of single-use items, especially things like PPE, which of course we all need to be wearing. I've got my handy mask right here, and we need it to keep ourselves safe and each other people safe. So knowing that we are having a big issue with sustainability these days, even more so, does this cause you to be more selective of the materials and products to find maybe sustainable alternatives instead? And if so, which brands are you turning to?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to look into companies that they try to,
Eric. Sorry.
Yes. I'm always looking at brands that try to keep the environment, like maybe if they're like LEE certified, like especially like Ductum, they use all natural components. Mm-hmm. So, the better we can take care of our environment, and if the company also, like if they support the environment, then it's always a plus.
Absolutely. Eric, you have your mask on. Let's hear it.
I would show off a little bit that part of, I think, the process as designers is, utilizing our own resources. And so this is a line I carry. And so my mask is washable and reusable. And I think that's all part of the process. I think we're seeing this really cool trend as restaurants are starting to open up. And even my mom, who is 66.
I don't want you to be getting in trouble here, Eric. You're treading dangerous water telling a lady's age.
Right. Really excited today when she was like, I went to this restaurant and I took a picture with my phone, and I just started laughing, and I was like, Mom, we've been doing that in the design world for a while now when we want to know what products is, or different companies have sort of integrated this technology. And so I think while we talk about some of the basics of good product, but also it's the longevity of the technology aspect into sustainability, I think. And so I'm hoping that we'll see these restaurants and stores continue this QR code well beyond where we are. It's immediate need, but it's also a continuous need for how we maintain health and wellness and sustainability. I mean, remember, we're cutting down on paper consumption and printing, like as an example. So I think it's a really cool way that we as designers have been looking at the industry for many years. How can we engineer our lives to be better? But we're finally having to put that in our everyday use.
Yes, that's a perfect example.
Yeah,
I love that mask.
I love, like, nowadays, like if you go to a restaurant, if you're lucky enough, like they don't give out menus anymore. You have to take your phone and scan the menu with a code, and they should really implement that from now on because it saves so much.
I agree.
Definitely. Well, and I work for a manufacturer, Waterstone, and we, everything that we use is sourced locally, and we recycle just like, Cosentino does. They recycle and reuse things. And I think as product selectionist for our customers, that we take on the initiative and lead the charge of selecting things that are sustainable and reusable and have a longevity. I mean, our company offers a lifetime warranty on working parts. And so instead of having to throw out a faucet when you're done with it, you're replacing it with just a simple part that you can change at home. I think that some designers don't know this or don't know the selections out there. And now there's so many companies that are going that way, which is really nice within the furniture, within appliances that are easily fixed at home. You don't have to throw out things. And when you look at Cosentino, they do that as well.
That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we are very conscious of our footprint in the world. So we do recycle everything from the water in the manufacturing process to the electricity. We farm our own solar energy. We also are recycling the gas that's used for the ovens to kind of cook the slabs, if you will. And even on a distribution level, as you said, Eric, we're trying to be conscious about printing and using a lot of paper. So we are doing things very digitally. We were doing this before COVID too, where we were sending product guides and all sorts of kind of literature digitally to our clients instead. And that's why we also implemented the We platform. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's kind of like our online library where you can access any sort of text sheet, any single information you need. You just have to go on there and sign up as a designer, an architect, a fabricator, kitchen bath sealer, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's really important to us. And even in the showroom, we don't do plastic water bottles. We try to just use as little as possible.
And Stacey, I would also interject that part of our sustainability responsibility is to continue to tell the story. We think of sustainable as plastic or paper, right? That little reuse, but really part of sustainability is telling our story. And Cosentino does that so beautifully, and it's one of the reasons I fell in love with it many years ago, and have continued to use it as a designer. And it's an great filled with real people, with a real story. And I think part of that sustainability process is talking about the history, both past, present, and then what's to come, and what's the vision of where it's going, which is sort of why I think we kind of gather today.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Eric. Now, with that in mind, are you concerned about health and safety when specifying materials as well? Like, for example, as we mentioned earlier, ductin is a non-porous surface, which makes it hygienic and easier to clean since bacteria kind of cannot live on it. Do you find that this is like a common concern with your clients, or is it just business as usual and they just want form over function?
I find it that my clients are always concerned, especially with countertops, how they want to clean it. These days, like, you're cleaning all day long, you're using very harsh products, so you don't want to damage the surface. So, with products like Ductum's countertops, or even if you make a table or anything, like, you can just wipe it off. You don't need to worry about like getting it damaged, scratched, stained. It's like heat resistant. It can be used in so many different ways, not just countertops, but you're not going to get worried about cleaning your table and if it's going to get scratched or change colors in the long run.
That's a good point. Yes.
And when I've designed showrooms that are high traffic, all my kitchens that I always use Ductum because of throwing events and using different cleaning materials and having different events and different materials going on top of it. Ductum is one of those things that always just stayed, non-porous and doesn't scratch, doesn't change colors. So to me, when I'm selecting it, I always want that performability. And I always think about, if there's kids in the home and those are the things that we always want to look for is how is the life of that product going to work? And is it going to work for their home? And so, yes, I always try to choose things that are non-porous, easy to clean, easy to take care of, and longevity of it.
I think that, Stacey, that our clients have been demanding this of us for decades now. No matter what we put it. I don't think it's a new concept. I don't think it's a concept that's to, quote, come out of the new normal. I think it's our obligation as designers to find the best products that meet these demands. I remember being in my first demonstration with you guys and you pouring nail polish on it and then lighting it on fire, and I was just blown away. And so when we did this lobby that we did in Boston, a very classic design with a new modern material, I just knew that I needed to push the envelope a little bit and, give something that was virtually indestructible. So I think that's the cool part about the product and about what we're asked to do as designers is to find the very best for that client and their needs and where they're going.
And you definitely pushed the envelope with using, actually there's a picture up right now of using Ductin for the first time ever inside of an elevator.
And in Boston, of all places that we are so heavily regulated, I was told it wasn't possible. And I laughed and I said, no, it has to be. We just have to calibrate the elevator. And both the contractor and then engineer looked at me and said, "You're a designer. You don't know anything about that." And I laughed and I said, "Oh, but we'll figure it out." And here we go, right? With this really cool elevator with Ductum on the walls, floors, and ceiling.
I love it. Yes.
You know, something to touch on that Eric had said, you know, we have these stories, and if we can share these stories with our customers of lighting it on fire and the sustainability and where it's manufactured, when we know the story and we share the story with our customers get excited and they want to buy into that story, and they want to be able to tell that story to their friends, and they want to buy the product because of that story. So I think, you know, having a story behind this, it really is helpful in selling it, whether it's longevity, sustainability, non-porous, especially in these times. I think that really is helpful.
Right.
Thank you, Brian, for sure. Now, you guys touched a little bit upon this already, but outdoor spaces. They are also increasingly becoming a key factor in our daily life. For example, us poor New York Cityers, or New Yorkers, I should say. I've had too much coffee already. We are still unable to have indoor dining, which is causing tons of restaurants to scramble and find alternatives, taking to the sidewalks of our New York City streets. Are you working on any outdoor projects like this? And if so, how are you addressing the need for a quick, convertible outdoor space makeover, especially with limitations on space, time, and resources? And last but not least, how are you addressing inclement weather changes? Because you know, New York, sunny 1 minute and downpour the next. What are you doing for that?
My clients, they by every year they get fancier and fancier. They want to turn the outdoor space into literally like an indoor space. They want to have everything that they have inside, outside. They want to get the same luxurious feeling. So right now with the situation, they are trying to make outdoor kitchens so that they can entertain their friends and family. They want to have everything. We're installing from pizza ovens to amazing outdoor kitchens that are heat resistant, UV resistant, using products like Ductum's countertops. Even the tables, they just want everything to be very big to entertain as much as possible. We were creating dining tables with materials like Ductum that can be made as long as you want. You can fit with people spaced out 6 feet apart. Just the outdoor feel, they want it to be very rich and luxurious.
That sounds lovely. I wish I had a space like that.
Yeah, well, in the suburbs in New Jersey. For New York City clients, it's a little different. We try to maximize the space. And obviously you have to compromise, but everyone wants to take life outside. They want to, even if it's just for themselves, just to change the air, because you can't go out too much these days.
Exactly.
So, to upgrade their furniture, to upgrade their counter spaces, if you want to cook or make a little, I don't know, just for drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about you, Brian? Are you dealing with any projects like this?
Not at the moment. Coming from Arizona, where we have lots of space, I've done a lot of outdoor kitchens, so and had the opportunity to use Ductum a lot. We do lots of barbecues, sinks, seating, fire pits. So in Arizona, there was always an outdoor kitchen, outdoor barbecue area. Right now in New York City, I've not had the opportunity to do an outdoor kitchen yet. I am working on a house in Montana. So it is possible that we might be doing an outdoor area, but we haven't specified that yet. So, but coming from Arizona, everyone had an outdoor space. So yeah, I miss that a little bit about Arizona.
Yeah, growing up a Queens girl myself, I didn't really have much of that. And how about you, Eric?
So I'm not necessarily working on a restaurant or any of that kind of work at the moment in a direct way. I have been engaged here in Boston with a couple of restaurant owners about how we accomplish this and what materials could be used. And it's really been interesting to see them develop these little mini pods that may have 2 walls and a little window or a little wire mesh screen that's sort of covered with the sheer. And then a very cleanable top surface that can just be sprayed down. So we're seeing these little mini pods pop up around the restaurant scene and in the neighborhoods to support this need for outdoor space that otherwise is not in their normal home atmosphere.
Got it. Yeah, very interesting indeed. I mean, with any significant impact on our way of life, it usually has a cause and effect influence on the fashion and design industries as it relates to trends. What trends are you seeing and predicting as a result? Eric, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I actually think, and I'm seeing it already, this need to get back into the home and to really focus on dining spaces for families, having separate breakfast spaces. We're seeing, from a showroom perspective, a little bit of a boost in those sales. So hopefully, if your designer's on the call, you'll sort of engage in that. Obviously, home office is the given, but I find what's the most interesting thing, and I had a conversation with folks out of High Point about this, is we're seeing the clients that are able a second home purchase. They know that something like this will likely happen again. We might have a second wave or a second pause, as I like to call it. And they need to be able to retreat and get away from the hustle and bustle and have that change of space and that change of lifestyle. So I think, or my hope, I should say, instead of saying I hope that we will see a reemergence of small town America. And let it less be about a specific color or style, but getting back to the basics of interpersonal communication and small town blend of boutique and bespoke style shops. That's my projection.
I love it. More mom and pops.
Correct.
How about you, Natalie?
Also, similar to what Eric said, for sure, like distributing the space a little bit more efficiently so that you can create different rooms within a room. A lot of my clients are asking not just for a home office, but also like exercise spaces.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Meditation spaces. They want to create the same feel that they get, like if they went to a spa in their home. So obviously it depends where the house is located and how much space they have, but we try to maximize the space to create all these, even in this picture, like you have different sitting areas, just so that everything can be spread. And if you're tired of sitting in one space, you can move on to another and create like a whole different atmosphere.
It's beautiful. And that makes sense. You bring up a very good point. Gyms are still closed. So we do need to find a way to get our exercise in somehow, whether it be running outside with a mask on or doing yoga in your living room every day like somebody does. So how about you, Brian? What trends are you identifying as a result?
Well, like everyone's saying, kitchens are a big one because people have been cooking at home. So we're seeing larger kitchens, larger countertop spaces, and playrooms for children. I mean, people want a little bit more of a luxurious kitchen, so they're getting nicer products, they're upgrading their ovens and their faucetry and their lighting within the kitchen. But like I said, they're also doing playrooms for the kids because the kids, we don't know when they're going to go back to school. So they're creating a play space that they can have their working or their schoolwork done and also play and keep it kind of away from the house. And that's the big trend that I'm seeing within the home is the remodel of the kitchen and basically a defined space for the children.
That's a very good point.
Also,
I have kids and I didn't even think about that.
I forgot to mention another trend that everyone has been asking is to create mat rooms within the house, like like a separate entrance, so that when you come in, you can put your shoes away and they're not like all over the door. And if people can, put their bags, or not just for the kids, for the adults too, so that you don't bring in, dirt inside the home.
That's a good point, for sure. Absolutely. So we at Cosentino also value being ahead and leading by being a trendsetter. And we recently launched a new line of Ductum colors called the Collection, which is our first time introducing 4 new series at once. The 4 series are called Liquid, Chromica, Portfolio, and Avant-Garde. I'm sure you all know what makes Ductum a superior surfacing product, and all of you have touched upon this already. But just in case, I'd like to do a quick refresher for maybe some of our newer people on the call. Ductum is composed of over 23 different inorganic raw minerals that do not deteriorate over time. It is heat, scratch, and stain resistant, making it the ideal surface for indoor and exterior applications, both vertical and horizontal. including flooring, fireplace, cladding, wall cladding, exterior facades, cabinetry, furniture, vanities, and of course, countertops, our origin, some might say. So since its introduction over 7 years ago, we have seen an incredible growth in the different patterns, textures, colors, and finishes in our Ductum repertoire. And presently, Ductum also comes in a broad range of thicknesses that start at as thin as 4 millimeters and goes all the way up to 1.25 inches. The 4 millimeter thickness we are particularly excited about, having launched it just last year. It is so durable yet compact that it can even be scored and snapped on site like a tile, no fabrication needed. So those of you that have been to the showroom, as Eric mentioned earlier, know that right about now, I would be pulling out a sample, scratching it with a key or a screwdriver, putting some nail polish on it, and lighting it on fire, just to wipe it all clean with some good old New York City tap water and a sponge. But since we can't do that right here, right now, I'd like to do the next best thing and show you all a short video that illustrates all these stunning new colors in the collection. Okay, to give you a little insight behind each series, we'd like to share with you the inspiration behind each one. So Liquid, that was created in partnership with a London-based design studio called Paternity, with two women named Anna and Grace, the designers of Paternity. And like the name suggests, they specialize in pattern making. They were inspired by the movements of water for this particular series. And the colors in it are shell, sky, and embers. Next, in the Chromica series, that was created in collaboration with architect Daniel Germani, who is a longtime friend of Cosentino, to address the need for solid, neutral surfaces in the industry. Daniel also collaborated with Cosentino for our very popular industrial series. Some of you might recall, Trillium is one of our top colors in Ductum to date. And the colors in this collection are Ferro Baltic and Uyuni. Next up is Portfolio, which is our contemporary line in trend with the natural looks and color tones. And the colors in this beautiful series are Rem, Mylar, and Bromo. And what's interesting about Rem, and one of the other colors I'm going to mention later, is where you see that veining, you can actually feel an indentation where the veins are. So it's as close to natural stone as you could possibly get in a matte finish, which is quite impressive. Next up, we have the Avant-Garde, which the name by itself describes how innovative this series is. It's rich, chromatic colors, all inspired from unique premium natural stones. In this collection, you will see how important the surface characteristics are, going from an X-gloss to a more hammered matte effect that we described. So Laurent, same thing. If you run your fingers through those veins, you can actually feel the indentation. Quite impressive. Okay. Now that everyone has had a chance to see the colors, Natalie, Brian, and Eric, you each received actual samples ready of the 4 different series. I'd like to know what your initial thoughts are and to see which colors are your favorites and why. So let's start with you, Brian.
I like the Laurent and the Rem, just because of what's trending. When I look at the Laurent, it's very natural. It goes with the styles and colors that are on trend for the year. I just think it's a beautiful finish. And the same thing with Rem. They're just very neutral. I think they lend themselves to anyone's color palette, has a long lifetime. You can mix different finishes with it and different textures and not be really affected by it. I think it's kind of like one of those Taj Mahal or Carrera colors that will last forever.
Love it. And how about you, Eric?
Well, I'll say that the Chroma cup is my favorite, and not just because I'm obsessed with Lady Gaga's new chromatic cup, but actually because as a designer, I am fascinated with using base primary colors as neutrals. For so long in the industry, we've gone to whites and tans as being a neutral color, when in fact, if you look at the classics, neutral colors were black and brown and deep greens. And so I think this collection demonstrates that in a very clear and confident way, that you can use hunter greens, you can use these really beautiful foresty greens as a primary neutral color. You can use that with navy and blue in that way as well. It's clean, it's clear, and it's a very powerful statement for a Ductum.
Thank you. And how about you, Natalie?
I love the Avant-Garde collection. I feel like it's something that I would use in my projects right away. Like I'm holding here the Helena sample. I feel like it's something so luxurious and rich.
So pretty, yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I see, like maybe in a master bathroom, it's so elegant. And at the same time, yeah, it has so like a beautiful movement and shading. It's very, very pretty. Also, like Eric said, Brian said, I love the Laurent one. It looks like a natural stone. It's really made beautifully. The texture, like you said, you can feel the grain, the veining in the stone. They're all like really luxurious and beautiful. Very elegant. This one also, the Calo, I love. They have a beautiful sheen.
Yes, the X-Gloss is really lovely. Yeah, it's almost kind of like a mirrored effect.
Yeah, no, they're really, really beautiful. They're very well made.
So, question for you all. How does this collection apply as leading the trend in textures, colors, patterns, and how do they help you innovate?
I think one of the things about Ductum from start to finish that I've always been amazed at is that it is a product for the future, but we can use it in our traditional setting. So we're not really reinventing the wheel. We're sort of just enhancing that process. There is an incredible display in one of your showrooms that I've been to that it's etched inside like you would do marble or stone. But so you can get a grid for water to drain, or you can create a table or a tabletop cutting surface and not be able to do that in other products. And so we're getting multi-use and multi-design and really high design out of a single product. And that's pretty amazing in my book.
Thank you.
I would have to second Eric. In one of my showrooms, I did the Cayman print, and it was just amazing. That it's a great product, and like I said, I have to second what Eric has to say on this.
Thank you, Brian. So last question before we head over in Q&A. Where do you see our industry headed in the next few years and why? For example, you're all very active in ASID and in several different show houses and activities of that sort. Do you feel that this will be a thing of the past, or will we find another option to keep that momentum going? Who'd like to start?
I'll start. I will say, I think the momentum is going to keep going. I think that we're already finding different ways to connect with our peers and our clients, whether it's now curated events where they're smaller and more intimate and people that want to purchase more or more interested in the product. I think you're going to have more sincere buyers instead of tire kickers. So I think we are being a little bit more connected to our customers instead of it just being like, I'm going to go in. I think one of the terms I heard was like people are now harpoon shopping. They go in, they buy their product, and they walk right out. And I think, partnering with someone like Cosentino for my product really helps curate that shopping event. And I think that's what we're going to have to look at. But this is the new normal of curated events and Zoom meetings, and that's, I think, what the future holds for us, at least for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Eric?
I think we're going to see multiple things happen that will take us back to the beginning. I right now am merging into a company that turned 70 years old here in New England. It's the oldest and largest showroom multi-line in our New England history. And as I hear the owners talk to me about what they have done, I find that we're really going back to the basics. We're going back to interpersonal relationships. We're going back to being a true resource to our clients. We're not giving them fast, down, and dirty, but they're really investing in us. They're buying us. They're buying our vision, our design, our product suggestion, and they're looking at us as true experts, as if they would. And I think we've sort of lost sight of that in the past, say, maybe 10, 15 years. I think we're seeing it come back around where we're finally in the driver's seat, where people look at us for our knowledge and our taste, but also look at us really more intently with where we're going. And so that's my vision for the future from here on out.
Perfect. And how about you, Natalie?
I think that people still want to be able to go to the showroom and feel and try the products. So, I mean, there's been a very big trend that showrooms really turn into like a home. They try to make, like your beautiful showroom in the city. It's you just feel like you're in your own kitchen. So there will be more of that trend that you can really like test the products and feel them and live with them. But also at the same time, given the situation, everything that can be transported into the house like will be brought to you. I think the companies are really accommodating so that there is like more of a comfort from your own home if it's possible. Like you can bring like a sink, a faucet. You can also bring dining room chairs. Whatever can be transported will be transported, but at the same time you'll have the option of getting the full experience in the showroom.
Okay. Very interesting indeed. I mean,
Definitely.
we shall see where this is all headed. I don't think we're going to be seeing a holiday house or a Kips Bay show house anytime soon, given the circumstances. Maybe it will be a digital event of some sort. Maybe we will use renderings. I do not know, but I'm definitely interested to see which direction we're headed off to.
You're doing many digital show houses that you don't have to really like decorate a space. You do everything like through renderings and drawings so that people can see how you turn like a space into, like a fabulous room through 3D renderings.
It's very interesting.
I'm with Bailey House, and we do design on a dime, and we also do the Bailey House Gala. And we're looking at different ways of reaching and getting donations. And so we're looking at doing Instagram, shopping, doing more of a curated to the client, sending out some of our previous contacts, sending them a pre-invite or pre-sale thing of things that they've been interested in before. So we're looking at a new way to reach them for that. So we're still trying to pursue like Bailey House and getting donations and having an event, but more of a curated, as Eric was saying, more personal and reaching out.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Also through social media, like, these days, like Instagram Live gives so much. Like, you don't have to go to the show house. The show house could come to you. Like,
exactly.
All the time I get asked, like, oh, can you do a house tour? Can you show, like, even without being asked, like, I'm showing my clients' homes. Sorry, my thing fell off. I'm showing the progress in my clients' homes as they progress, and people love to watch how your job sites keep progressing from the beginning to the end. They feel like they are involved already.
That's true.
The shopping experience is also similar. You can really like see and feel how a company is run. Like like Cosentino is it's like a family. It's like so warm and inviting, and you see all these through events like this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And I, like you were saying, I do love watching time lapses to see the way a project progresses from start to finish. Those are so much fun. Okay. So we are running a little bit low on time. So I'd like to hop over to the Q&A. Some of you have already dropped in some questions on the chat box to the right of your screen, I believe. And if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to drop it there. The first one we have is from Judy Langenfelder. How do you feel about open concept homes versus more ability to close off rooms now that most of us work from home? Who'd like to take that one?
Well, I'll jump in and just say that this question actually came up a couple of days ago here in the showrooms, working with a couple of designers in tandem, and that we will probably see us go back to more individual rooms because you do need that separation. Natalie brought up earlier the idea that, and there was a beautiful photo from one of her projects where she was successfully creating multiple rooms in one space. But I think that from an architectural response, we are going to see, especially in our region, in New England region, where at the root of who we are in smaller rooms and smaller scales. And I think we're going to continue to see that drive more and more and more in that direction. I don't think people are going to be going back to work for a little while, and in some cases, if ever, they're realizing they can do it from home.
That's very true. I think Google is not going back until the summer of 2021 to their offices, and right across the street at Bloomberg, they're not back until January of next year.
Right.
So that's a good observation.
Yeah.
And now we have a comment from Nicolette Havrish. The Laurent finish reminds me of kintsugi, the Japanese process of repairing broken objects with gold. Do you guys agree? That's
Definitely.
a very nice observation. Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't
Wow.
make that connection, but now I see it.
Yeah, it's a nice compliment.
Definitely.
And then I have another question here. Natalie, how do you make outdoor spaces functional now when you have a small area, especially here in New York City? So say a tiny little balcony in your apartment.
Yeah, so you want to maximize the space and make it feel beautiful. I actually had to write an article about this last month for a magazine. So I recommend it to use, I don't know if you have space for a table or not, but if not, like those little foldable tables, like the cafe for 2 people, those are very useful. Like you can fold them and put them away. Also like creating seating areas through ottomans that can be used in different ways as a side table or for extra seating. And then also you want to try to incorporate some plants to make it lively and beautiful. So like I saw online, they sell all these different stackable walls where you can put shallow planters on it, and it creates like a wall full of flowers. It's really beautiful.
Oh, so you said that you wrote an article about this for a magazine. Where can our viewers find this article if they'd like to read up?
It was in New York Magazine.
Oh, okay, perfect. I'll definitely keep my eyes out for that one. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, how soon will samples of the collection be available? They are already available. We have them here in the showroom, and they can also be ordered online. Okay. Ew, this one's for you, Eric. If you were to use one of the Ductum Chromica colors, in what application do you imagine using them?
Well, it's really funny you say that because I was actually talking to my wonderful rep. I have an incredible relationship with her for many, many, many years. And in my loft building, we cannot change the color of the windows because it's historic. Oh. So funny enough, it's actually the green color, the Pharaoh color, are the windows. And I've been looking at combining it with the blue. So I was like, oh my God, this can be exactly this will be my kitchen counter island top. And these will be the back counters on the main blonde cabinets I have because I don't want to change those. So I practically decided that I'm going to have now a beautiful blue kitchen island and a nice Pharaoh green back countertop. How's that? Does that work?
It's beautiful. Awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I love it so much because it solved my design dilemma of combining the green and the blue together. Oh wait, wrong way. There we go.
It's stunning. You'll have to take us for one of those Instagram lives once it's done.
Absolutely. I think it's just 2 colors that pair really well together. And a lot of people have questioned me about combining those 2 colors in my place. And it's actually worked out quite successful. So this was reaffirmation from the marble gods, I think.
That worked out perfectly for you.
There are so many ways that I like to use products like these. Like I love to create dining room tables because you don't have limitations in the size. And it's beautiful also when you create a build-up and you make it look like beautiful and thick like a countertop. Also, sometimes I cover like whole walls or fireplaces, and it makes such a difference, such an impact, and the cost is not terrible in comparison to other products like marble.
I like to specify for the shower, so then there's no mold or mildew.
Right.
It's easy to clean.
No
I think it's wonderful for the shower.
Yes.
It's incredible. I was surprised in learning how to use it in the flooring component. In the project, we sort of interlaid in sort of traditional sort of Greek key style. And I was just sort of amazed at how easy it was to cut and score and really create intricate pattern and design using it on the floor like we did in the, and you can see there's like a crown molding we did with it etch into it. So it's this really interesting product that I think leaves itself to your imagination as the creator. So it's, I think, less about being practical and traditional, but more about just using it however you see fit.
True.
Yeah.
So true. I have another question for Eric from Jerome Tan. Love the concept of using darker natural colors and neutral colors. How would you apply that to smaller spaces?
So I think you can't be afraid of this idea that small spaces have to be lighter. I think some of the best spaces I've ever created as a designer were using dark, dramatic colors. They actually punch your eye up, and it helps you think beyond. I think white, when we wear white like pinstripe, think about it, it shows every detail. It makes you feel tall, makes you feel wide. There's a picture on the screen right now. That was a bedroom I did, and people swore that I couldn't put that Kelly green on the wall, and I laughed and I said, watch me. And it creates an experience beyond the known. I think that's the most important part of a dark color as a neutral. Is it takes the eye beyond what is just on the surface and creates a depth beyond with shadow and light and all that play.
I love that you're a risk taker and that you don't take no for an answer. I admire that trait in you. You just do, and then it always works so beautifully. Fun story with Eric, going back to our history together. He actually designed a table for one of the interior design industry's galas to support, he's laughing, to support the American Cancer Society. And when I received his rendering and I saw a gigantic, like maybe 6-foot horse as his centerpiece, his table centerpiece, I was like, oh, how are we going to do that? And he did it. He made it work. He was published.
It was
for
amazing.
that beautiful design. You know it, right, Natalie? The horse with all the roses on it. I mean, incredible. I love that you're a risk taker and it always works out. So please don't ever change. I have, another question here from Tammy Bolden. So she asked, her client wants to update and modernize her house, but keep with the history of the 80-year-old house. Which of the new products would you recommend for the facade of a fireplace in an older home?
I love the color.
Yeah.
That would probably be
for a fireplace. It has like a marble look, but at the same time, it's very rich looking. And the sheen is going to make it like very glamorous too.
I would also say from a risk perspective, in the liquid embers, this actually has a beautiful old Delft tile feel. You can, in so many of the homes here in New England, historic properties, we would have the traditional blue and white Delft, but then there's also a series of them that have these sort of emeralds and blues that are sort of muted in together that have an iridescence glaze. It's really hard to find, but I would say that the liquid sort of does that. There's a sense of antiquity to it while still being a little cutting edge.
Beautiful. Okay, so I think we're running a little bit out of time. So, and again, we value and respect everybody's time with us today. So I'd like to say thank you again and offer a final chance for our panelists to make their last remarks, whatever they would like to communicate to our fantastic and very participative audience before we sign off. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that if you would like to connect with myself or our fabulous panelists, you can follow us on Instagram. I think they're going to put up our contact information underneath our images soon enough. And our website information will be linked on there too. So, Natalie, would you like to
Yes, sure. No, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and also it will be amazing if you try to get the samples, because I love how the brand offers so many options. There's unlimited options, whether you want to do a kitchen, you want to do a bathroom. They can be used in so many different ways that there's no limit.
Thank you. And Eric?
So thank you as well for joining us. I am here in the Boston Design Center in the Eric Hiddle showroom or the McGee showroom pretty much every day of my life. While our city center is outside of Boston, it is an incredible resource. I actually carry all those samples here in the showroom. I'm not an official representative, but just a lover of the product, and I use it a lot. So if you are in the area and you are interested in seeing those samples, I know the city center here in Boston would be delighted to have you pop over and see me, and then I can hook you up and direct you to their location outside. So happy to be that resource.
Thank you, Eric. And we love you too, very much. And Natalie. And of course, my dear Brian, your turn. You're up. You're closing it down.
Thank you, Stacey, for having me, and thank you, everybody, for being here. If you haven't used Ductum before, I encourage you to use it. It's an amazing product. It's a great company, Cosentino is, and they support the design community really well. So thank you for being here. Stay well, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Thank you so much, everyone.